All right. Hey guys, it's Aaron McClanahan from Ain't It Cool News. How we doing today?
How you doing?
Hello.
Hey. So I'm here with Josh Duhamel and Allan Ungar, the writer-director of London Calling. I got a chance to watch the movie. It was actually one of those rare action comedies that's actually funny. Like I had a great time watching this film, a lot of good laughter. Um, a lot came from you, Josh, but also from Jeremy Ray Taylor.
Yeah.
Tell me about your working relationship with that young man.
Well, first of all, I appreciate your sixth sense of humor because I have that same sixth sense of humor. It's what drew me to this movie. I just love the dark, sort of unapologetic, slightly risky brand that it was, and I think I just drawn to that stuff. And Jeremy really understood the character. He understood what how this dynamic was supposed to work. He was just an awesome young man. Really, he's a power lifter. I don't know if you knew that, but this kid is like, he's really into powerlifting and getting into shape, and he was in the middle of doing that, and he's like, no, please, we need you
Right?
soft and cuddly. We need you to be Julian for this movie. And he gladly obliged. But he's actually a really good athlete too, but really smart, hell of an actor. And I just had so much fun sort of figuring out and grinding down what each scene was supposed to do and how we could make the most of it, and it's those kind of people you just love to work with.
Yeah. Alan, tell me about putting this script together. We begin in London, then we're in Los Angeles, and Tommy's at a pretty low point, and we see some of the menial tasks he's been relegated to. But then, when he beats up with Benson and he pairs up with Julian, the movie really kicks into high gear. Tell me about structuring that.
Yeah, look, I looked at this film as an underdog story in a lot of ways for both characters. They're both underdogs. And so I really relate to that. And, obviously there's these themes of redemption and fathers and sons. And so I actually got an old draft of this script from my agent when Josh and I were on our last day shooting Bandit. And I was exhausted and it took me forever to get through, which is generally, it just means I don't like something, but I fell in love with it. I fell in love with the characters, and I loved that sense of this sort of guy who's over the hill, who used to be the best at what he did, and now he's just, and that's a relatable thing too, right? I think a lot of guys get to a certain age and they're like, I don't need glasses, I don't need to go to the doctor, that's okay. And so I took what was already there on the page and sort of just injected a little bit of my own flavor and sense of humor into, which of course, we both like to say it's unapologetic and irreverent, but injected a little bit of that into it. And I added a little bit more heart because I'm a big product of the 90s, right? Like growing up on those sort of like buddy cop movies. And I just think a lot of movies now don't have enough heart, and there's nothing to ground it and anchor it. And so really in looking at the structure of the movie, there is a very traditional structure to it, right? And there's the hero refusing the call, and there's all these great things that work. And they are cliches and they are tropes, but they work for a reason. And so it was really important to craft something that had a familiar element to it, but sort of flipped it on script a little bit.
Yeah. What I thought was really interesting about Tommy's fall was that, he was still physically able, still physically fit, able to do everything. It was just fading vision. Like, where did that idea come from? Like, something so simple. Like, when he puts the glasses on, it's like a fucking superpower. Like, tell me about that.
Yeah, so that wasn't in the original script. There was this running gag that he was just, the original script actually had him addicted to coke. So he was just sort of like
That's right.
more of a degenerate, and I didn't find that as likable. And I always think that your hero needs to have as many likable qualities despite being flawed. And I know Josh likes flawed characters as well. So in sort of crafting the draft of the script that I did, I was like, we need this eyesight thing to pay off, but also we need a moment to clap for him. You know what I mean? And so that was, we're both UFC guys, and there's this coach in the UFC who always wears these absurd yellow sunglasses in the arena, which never made any sense to me because it's dark in there. And so I kind of wrote this in that one of the henchmen would be wearing glasses, and you'd have the audience go, oh, I think I know where this is going. So that's kind of how that all came together.
Nice. Josh, what attracted you to the character of Tommy? Why did you sign on?
Well, I just feel
And
like
don't say Alan. I want to know why you signed on.
no. It was really a lot of. I love the idea that he was so, dysfunctional in so many ways, and he just couldn't quite get it together. In the beginning, you think that he does until you realize that, like you said, his eyesight. But I think in general, he's lost a step and he's not doesn't quite have that fastball that he used to have. And it's a hard thing to reconcile when you get to that age. Trust me, I'm there. And you really want to you really want to hang on, and it's a hard thing to admit to yourself. And I think that there was that the flawed sort of nature of his character, the fact that he hasn't stepped up as a father as much as he thinks he has, and then by shooting the wrong person, ends up in Los Angeles, the last place he wants to be, and working for this low rent mob boss. It's just he doesn't he's at a low point for sure. And I think those kind of characters are way more interesting to me than somebody who does have it figured out. It's just so much more fun to play, in outside the lines. And I think that this movie definitely isn't afraid to do that.
Yeah. Well, it's a great story. It's a great redemption. And again, it's genuinely funny. So thank you for that. That's all of our time. Thank you guys so much. Have a great
Thank
day.
you
Thank
very
you.
much. Take care.
All right, bye. Hey, Jeremy, how are you?
Doing good, man. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks so much for talking to me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
This is a milestone. You are my 200th interview since I've started doing all this stuff. So
Wow.
I know
Well,
I
I'm
feel
honored.
bad. Let's talk about London Calling and the character of Julian Benson. Um, what attracted you to this film?
A lot of things, man. I think that from the beginning, my goal was to do kind of a mixture of action and comedy. That's what I've always wanted to do. I kind of started out with comedy, and I've always wanted to do action. I've always loved doing my own stunts. You can watch any of my old interviews. I've always said that my favorite part about it was the final fight and all the little like bullying stuff and all the real punches and all that kind of stuff. So I mean everything. And then I grew up with Josh Duhamel with Transformers. Awesome. Aiden Gillen and most people know him from Game of Thrones, but I know him from Peaky Blinders as Averama Gold. So like there's a ton of amazing things, and it was hyped up to be an amazing project, and it definitely was.
Yeah. So Julian's character introduction, pretty much we first find him pantsless behind a tree. But then he really does blossom into something like he's surprisingly adept with firearms and surprisingly physical. Um, Josh tells me that you're a power lifter.
Uh, he throws that word around a little bit, but I did do bodybuilding for a minute, and then I got into cars, and then I let myself go. So I need to get back into it. But yes, I did start taking weightlifting pretty seriously.
Yeah, and so that was part of the physicality of the role that attracted you. Like you said, you want to do action, you want to do physical stuff, and so
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. And me and Josh actually had a Zoom call before I was attached to the project, and we were both kind of talking about where we wanted to take our careers. And he's trying to go like more into the serious stuff and more into the action stuff like that, and I'm doing the same thing. So I don't want to be known as like the little Ben anymore, and so I think that this kind of bridges the gap where I can start as Ben and start to end up more of that like action star. Obviously I'm far from being an Idris Elba or anything like that, but I think someday that may be on the forecast.
Well, yeah, I mean, every journey is steps, and you're taking the steps. Let's
Absolutely.
talk about what you're working on next.
That's a good question. Right now, all of my work is going into London Calling. We are actually rebuilding a vehicle we're rebuilding the 1969 Pontiac Grand Prix. We're actually gonna have that at the premiere. We're gonna do like a little car show. So I'm a very big car enthusiast. So I've been running a YouTube channel, and we modify our cars very heavily. So that's kind of what I'm doing in the meantime. They're both major hobbies of mine. So if another acting opportunity arises, I will obviously be right there. But right now, I'm just kind of working on cars.
Excellent. Let's talk about the combat scene that you have with Josh when he's teaching the eye gouge. Tell me about the choreography. How close did you get? Like, you guys had to have a lot of trust in that scene.
Yes. So I think that's probably one of the hardest parts about action is knowing what the other person is comfortable with and knowing how close that you're actually allowed to get. It took a few tries for sure because it's also Josh Duhamel. Like I don't want to hurt this guy. Not that I probably could. And so it definitely took a few tries to make it look real. I think that I probably got a little bit closer than maybe either of us wanted to be. But yeah, that scene was freaking awesome. Very hard to get through that without laughing, by the way, because he freaking killed it. And actually, one of the moves that he's talking about whenever he's listing off the moves, the gooch scoop. was actually my idea because my brother's gamer tag on like Call of Duty or whatever was the Gooch Scooper. So I was like, please, can we get this in here somewhere? So that's a little Easter egg. But yeah, that's one of my favorite scenes in the movie. It's freaking hilarious.
I love that goose scoocher?
Gooch Scoop. The
Gooch
Gooch.
scoocher. That
Yes.
is a nice little Easter egg. I love that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's talk about Julian's fascination with LARPing and online gaming. Are there any real life parallels there, or did you learn about that for the first time reading the script?
So I have heard about LARPing for a while. I have never partaken in any LARPing. Obviously, we're just professional role players if you look at it that way as actors. I'm a huge gamer, so that has definitely been a thing. I used to like stream on Twitch and do the whole thing. I never took it super seriously, but I've definitely grown up on gaming. I was playing Halo before I could even speak. So that's definitely a big part. There actually is another Easter egg. You're getting all the Easter eggs today. Uh, when I say lightning bolt in the film, that's a reference to a very old YouTube video of a LARPer that went lightning bolt, lightning bolt, lightning bolt. So I hope people pick up on that because that was something I really wanted to put in there as well. But yeah, there's a huge parallel between that for sure.
I don't want to spoil the ending, but I will say that, Julian comes into his own and Tommy manages to survive all the things lobbed at him. So it's possible these two could reunite. Would that be something you'd be interested in if that call came?
Absolutely. We have talked about uh, obviously like over dinner kind of thing. This is not in any sort of fact, but we've talked about that for sure. I think that it would be we had a couple alternate endings that we ended up not filming that I think definitely would have led us into a sequel. So I definitely think that it's a thing that could happen, especially I mean depending on what happens in these next couple weeks with the film. But yeah, I think both of us would love to. I think that this is both probably our favorite project that we've ever worked on. I can't obviously speak for Josh, but this is both really what we've been wanting to do for a long time. And so I think that we would both chomp at the bit for another opportunity to make London Calling too.
Yeah. Well, it really comes through in the movie. It's
Good.
not only action packed, it's legitimately funny. You guys have great chemistry, and we're out of time. So I just want to thank you for chatting with me and I wish you the best of luck in the film.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
All right, man. Take care.